Working with directories and files is easy in Bash after you learn these 6 commands. So first and foremost is the mkdir command, which stands for make directory. And we can see that if we use the man command to get some help on this particular command, mkdir. And it says that it makes directories. And to use it, we can provide some options if we want, but really what it wants is just the name of the directory. So if we clear the screen and we create a new folder or directory called project, mkdir project 01, and then we use the ls command, we can see that we've created a new directory, and that's highlighted by the green background over that, indicating that it's a directory instead of a file. All the other items in this listing are files. So you can also create multiple directories at once. You don't have to do it one line at a time. So you could do mkdir project 02 space project 03. And that space denotes that it's going to be a different directory that's created. So if we run ls again, we now have 3. But what if you wanted to create a subdirectory underneath a directory that didn't exist yet? Well, if we look at the help for the mkdir command, there is an option that we can use to do that, which is parents. So we can see under here in the description of the different options, -p or -- parents will make the parent directories as needed. And that will get us around that error. So if we did mkdir-p, and then maybe projects 01, and then we will do a subdirectory. So if we just did sub, that would work without the p because that's the next layer. But if we were to do sub 2, so there would be a subdirectory underneath that, and 1 doesn't exist yet, we'll get an error. So just to show you that, let's remove the -p to see the error, and it's going to say subdirectory does not exist yet. It's talking about sub 1 not existing. But if we hit the up arrow and go back a little bit and we add the -p back in there, it's going to also create the parent directories for this particular path. And so now if we run ls on projects 01, we should see that we have sub 1, and if we look inside sub 1, we have sub 2. And so now we have folders all the way down. So that's how you create directories with the mkdir command. And now we'll look at using the touch command to create files. So touch is an even simpler command. All you do is type touch and then the name of the file that you want to create. So let's create a file underneath project 01, and we'll just name it file.txt. So mkdir was making directories and touch is for making files. Now all touch does is it creates the file, and if you use it on an existing file, it will update the timestamps for the date modified. So if we ls project 01 now, we should see that it has the subdirectory folder and the file.txt. Now we can use a different command now that we have a file that's created to move one item to another location. So that command is the mv command. So if we look at the help for mv, it just is for moving files, and there's a number of different options. We can force move and stuff like that. But to use this, we'll just put mv projects 01, and we want to move the file txt into project 2. So we'll just put the next destination. So it's move source to destination. So projects 02. And we don't need to put the extension. It's going to take file.txt and move there. It's also important to note that we can use wildcards with any of these commands. So I could put files asterisks, and it's going to move anything that matches file followed by anything else into the projects 2. But we'll keep the full file name there for now. So I'm going to move that, and then to confirm that it worked, we'll use the ls command underneath projects 02, and now we have file txt. Now what we could have done instead of moving it is we could have copied it, and that is another command that you can use, which is cp. So cp, so if we look at the help for cp, it is copy files and directories. So you could copy files, which is what we're going to do in this case, or the entire directory. So to copy file.txt back into project 01, we'll use the cp command. So we're going to copy from projects 02, and we're going to copy file.txt. Again, this could be using wildcards, so you could copy the entire folder or anything that matches. And then I'm going to copy it into projects 01. So I could leave this like that, so it's going to copy them there, or I could define what it's going to be copied into, which would be file.txt to here. Or I could rename it. So maybe it'll be file01.txt. And so if I do that, and then I ls projects01, you'll see that it copied whatever the contents of file.txt was, which was nothing in this case because I didn't add any text into the file, is going to be copied from projects01 back into projects02, but as a different name. If I didn't add that file01 here, it will copy it just as file.txt. And I can see that if I just do another ls on projects01 now, it copied the name as it was. So that's how you can use CP to either copy the existing file with the current name or change the name during the copy process. So lastly, now that we've moved a bunch of stuff around, it would be time to clean up all of this stuff. The first command for doing some of this cleanup is the rm command, which stands for remove. So if we look at the directory structure here, we have 3 project folders. And if we change into project01, we'll see that we have a number of files. And to use the rm command, you just type rm followed by the name of the file you want to delete. And again, this also accepts wildcards. So while I could put file01.txt and file.txt, and that would remove both, I can also just put an asterisk in there and it will delete it. Now this will delete all files that match file. So if it has file followed by anything, it's going to try and delete that. Now, because I haven't used any other switches or options with this, it's only going to work in the current working directory. I could make this recursive if I added the -r, and we could see that in the help if we wanted to. But for now, I know that there are only 2 files in here that will match this, and so I'm going to assume that it's safe enough to use the wildcard to remove. So if I hit rm file asterisk, I'm going to remove all of the text files in here that had file in the name. Now we have a subdirectory here that is still not cleaned up, which is sub1, and then sub1 has sub2, if you remember from just a couple minutes ago. So what we need to do here is remove, use a different command, which is rmdir, which stands for remove directory. And so we do sub1. Now sub1 isn't the lowest level of this hierarchy. There's actually a sub2, so I need to delete the lowest path if I'm going to use the mkdir command without any options. And so if I remove that directory and do an ls, I still have sub1, but now I can actually remove the sub1 directory because sub2 no longer exists and there's nothing underneath the hierarchy or path for sub1. And so now I don't have any directories underneath here. Now I mentioned before that we can also use wildcards with this. So if I go back into the root directory of this workspace and I do an ls, I still have project 1, project 2, and project 3. Now if we look inside project 2, it does have a file. So if I were to use a wildcard here, it wouldn't work because there is content inside of project 1. So I'll just use the remove command and get rid of project 1 or project 2's file txt quickly. Now I could use rmdir and do project 1, project 2, project 3, or I can use the wildcard now that each of these directories don't have anything inside them. So I can do rmdir project star, and that will remove all of the directories with project. If I do an ls, we see that I'm back to the original state and I don't have any directories or files. And those are the 6 commands that you need to know to successfully and efficiently manage and work with files and folders in Bash.